In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can increase your credit card limit fast and easily. What's up, winners? My name is Nam. If you're new here, welcome. Here we talk all things personal finance and credit. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. A lot of people don't know this, but it's actually really easy to do as long as you have the right information. I was once in the same boat as you, with a puny $500 limit at the ripe age of 18, but with the right strategies and a bit of patience, I was able to soar to new heights, reaching a whopping $150,000 credit limit and a credit score in the high 800s. So if you are looking for a way to get more buying power, stick around and I'll show you how to exactly get it done. Are you a credit card newbie or seasoned pro? Either way, this video is packed with valuable information to help you boost your credit limits. First, let's talk about credit limits and credit utilization. These two factors play a huge role in determining your credit score. In fact, around 30% of your FICO score is based on the amount of debt that you owe. But it's just not your credit score that is affected by credit utilization. Creditors also pay close attention to this metric when deciding whether or not to approve you for more lines of credit. So what is credit utilization? It is a fancy term of the amount of credit that you're using compared to the amount of credit that is available to you. Credit utilization is also looked at on a pure card basis and also a total across all of your accounts. For example, let's just say that you have a credit limit of $500 and you're carrying a balance of $200. Your credit utilization now would be 40%. Not great, right? But the general rule of thumb is to keep your credit utilization below 30%. But the lower, the better. I say below 10% is the goal. Now, let's just say that you're able to increase your credit limit to $2,000. Suddenly, your credit utilization dropped as much as a manageable 10%. But here's the thing. Credit utilization only matters when your statement cycle ends. With the rise of electronic statements, many people don't even realize when it happens. So where can you find this information? All you gotta do is log into your credit card account and look for the small print that tells you when your statement period ends. For example, my statement period for one of my Chase credit cards ended on February 10th. If I don't pay off my balance before then, that number will be reported to the credit bureaus. But if I pay it off on February 9th, my credit utilization will be zero and it will be reported as such. Now, you might be wondering, why do you even need a high credit limit? Sure, it might be tempting to rack up a higher balance, but that's not the point. A high credit limit can be a lifesaver in case of an emergency, like unexpected car repairs or a medical expense. Just remember that credit card debt is the worst kind of debt, but in a pinch, it can be a lifesaver if you know if you can pay it off quickly. So keep your credit utilization low, pay attention to your statement balances, and aim for a high credit limit. Alright folks, now let's talk about the million-dollar question. When is the perfect time to ask for a credit limit increase? Well, it really depends on the credit card issuer. Some companies are willing to grant increases as soon as 60 days, while others may take up to 90 days. But as a general rule of thumb, I recommend waiting at least 6 months before requesting an increase. For example, American Express is known to be pretty generous with credit limit increases, sometimes offering as high as 3x of the original limit just after 60 days. So before requesting an increase, do a little bit of research on the company and their policies. Remember, it is better to wait a little bit longer and give the company some time to understand your spending habits, rather than seeming desperate for credit. But timing isn't the only thing that you need to consider before requesting for a credit limit increase. Make sure that your credit score is as high as possible and pay off any outstanding balances on other credit cards from that issuer. Also be aware if you have any recent delinquencies such as late payments, collections, or public record items on your credit report, it may be a little bit more difficult to get an increase. But don't worry, it's still possible to get an increase even if you have these delinquencies. If you are interested in doing your own credit repair, I do have a free template that you can use down in the description below, and I also have some other templates that you can purchase as well. So the general idea is to keep an eye on the clock, make sure that your credit score is in tip-top shape, and don't be afraid to ask for a credit limit increase. So who knows, you might just end up with a shiny new credit limit that's 3 times than what you started with. As important as credit limits are to your finances and your credit score, something that's often overlooked is life insurance. Life insurance is something that gives you the opportunity to protect your loved one's way of life, like keeping your family home or the opportunity to go to college. So for me personally, I'm the breadwinner and I have an infant. So God forbid that anything ever happens to me, but if something does, I know that my family is financially covered. So I would like to introduce you to my partners of today's video, Walnut. They are here to make getting coverage as easy as choosing a tier on Netflix. Their membership not only includes life insurance, but also top consumer subscriptions like Headspace Plus for mental health, ClassPass Digital for fitness, and Dashlane Premium for password management. Not only they are the most cost-effective way of getting all of these benefits in one place, they also allow you to instantly understand how much life insurance will cost and choose the best option for your budget. And the best part, you get all of this without having to speak to an agent or a salesperson and without a medical exam. Simply choose the plan that fits your budget and get coverage up to $1 million. Don't miss out on this opportunity to protect yourself and your loved ones with Walnut. Get your premium membership today and start living your best life. Now let's move on to the exact process of how to get a high credit limit. First things first, let's talk about the waiting game. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but trust me, it's worth it. Just keep making your payments on time and in full every single month, and eventually your credit card issuer will take notice of your responsible use of their credit and reward you with an increase. This is especially true for lower credit card limits like my first credit card. I started with like a measly $500 limit, but with consistent on-time payments and paying off my spending, my limit was automatically increased several times without me even asking. Now, let's talk about income. If you're like most of us, your income is probably changing a lot over time. Maybe you just got a promotion or a new job or a side hustle, whatever it may be, make sure that you update your income regularly within your credit card account. This shows the credit card companies that you're making more money and therefore more likely to pay back any debt that you may have. It's a win-win. Another important factor to consider is your credit score. Good credit habits will help you increase your credit score, which will make the credit card companies more comfortable of giving you a higher credit limit. So make sure that you practice good credit habits such as paying your credit cards on time and in full every month and keeping your balances low. If you are short on time and don't want to wait, that's when you want to make a request. With this route, you will need whether or not the credit card issuer that you're dealing with will do a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry when you request an increase. A soft inquiry won't hurt your credit score at all, but a hard inquiry can drop your score a few points for a few months up to a year. Some banks like Chase will always do a hard inquiry, so be aware of that before you make a request. To find out if a company does do a soft inquiry, you can always do a quick Google search or just call the customer service. Some of the companies that have been reported to do soft inquiries only has been American Express, Bank of America, Capital One, Citibank, Discover, US Bank, and Wells Fargo. But keep in mind that this list may change over time, so it is always best to check with customer service just to make sure. Now, when it comes to actually requesting an increase, many people have reported that speaking with a customer service rep directly and building a rapport can yield better results. But before you make your call, just make sure that you have a good reason for wanting an increase. For example, you're planning to upgrade your home or you're moving into a new apartment and you need extra funding to buy furniture. These are the reasons that your credit card issuer will consider. But if your only reason is that you want to travel to the Maldives or buy a new Gucci handbag, then you might want to come up with a better reason. I'm not saying that you should lie, but you need to make a stronger case on why you deserve a higher credit limit. All right, folks, are you guys ready for a little controversial strategy? I'm talking about maxing out your credit cards. Now, before you run for the hills, hear me out. Let's just say that you have a credit limit of $1,000. You go ahead and put $1,000 worth of expenses on that card, and then a few days later, you pay off the balance in full. Now, let's just say that you need to charge some more expenses on the card, and you put another $1,000 on it. And again, you pay off the balance right away. The goal here is not to let the balance carry month to month. Meaning, if you have a credit card limit of $1,000 and you put $2,000 worth of charges during that month, you want to make sure that you are able to pay it off before the statement cycle ends. This way, the credit bureaus see that you have a zero balance and it does not affect your credit score. But the credit card issuer will see your spending habits. Now, if you want to do this for 2 or 3 months and then ask for a credit limit increase, this will make you have a stronger case to get it. Keep in mind though that this strategy is not for everyone and it's always important to pay off your debts as soon as possible. All right, you got a reason for wanting a higher credit limit and you know which credit card issuer you're dealing with. Now it's time to think about how much you actually need. Here's a little secret. The smaller that your current credit card limit is, the easier it will be to get a higher amount. So if you're starting with a measly $300 limit, it is not unrealistic to aim for $3,000. But just keep in mind that it does come with a few variables to consider. For example, if your income has recently gone up, then you may be able to get a bigger increase. Let's just say that you were a college student working part-time at a coffee shop, but now you've graduated and you're making $60,000 a year. Your spending habits will most likely reflect this increase in income, so you should be able to get a bigger credit limit increase. But as a general rule of thumb, aim for at least 3 times of your current credit limit. And if you're not sure where to start, always overshoot just by a little bit. Some credit card issuers like Navy Federal are known to extend limits to $25,000 in just a matter of months. Also, it is important to keep in mind that credit card companies have a track record of all of your transactions since you've had your card. So if you are consistently making purchases and paying them off on time, they will be more likely to give you a bigger credit limit increase. And if they counter your request with a lower amount, don't be discouraged. Just take it and adjust your spending habits for the next 6 months and then request for another increase again. One more tip is before the statement cycle closes, make sure that you pay off your balances in full. This way, it will ensure that you have a zero balance that gets reported to the credit bureaus and it won't affect your credit score. So don't be afraid to aim high, keep your spending habits in check, and always make sure that you pay off your balance in full. With a little bit of effort, you'll be on the right way to get a much higher credit limit in no time. So now let's just say that you've done everything right, follow all the tips, and you still got denied for a credit limit increase. Don't despair just yet because it's not the end of the world. First of all, if it was a soft inquiry, then there's nothing negative that's going to happen to your credit score. Once you get denied, you should receive a letter stating the reasons why. Use this information to fix whatever issues that are holding you back and then try again later. Another route that you can take is ask for a reconsideration. But just keep in mind that this will most likely result in a hard inquiry because this may be a manual review of your credit. So when was the best time to try again? Well, it depends on whether or not it was a soft or a hard inquiry. If it was a soft inquiry, then you should wait at least 3 months before trying again. And if it was a hard inquiry, then it is best to wait for 6 months. Now, there are some better ways to increase your overall credit limits, and this is my preferred way. Rather than requesting for an increase that I know that I will get hit with a hard inquiry, I will just go ahead and apply for a new credit card. Now, there are some credit cards that can give you a quick idea of how much you can qualify for. For instance, if you were to apply for a Visa Signature credit card, typically they will start you off at $5,000 of a credit limit. Now, this is not set in stone. Depending on the issuer, they may give you a lower starting rate, but on average, you should expect around $5,000. An example of this would be the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Capital One Venture Card. Another credit card that allows you to guess your starting limit would be Visa Infinite credit cards. Usually with these type of cards, they start off with a credit limit of at least $10,000. So if you do qualify and get approved for one of those, typically these credit cards give you the highest limits. Some example of these credit cards would include the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Capital One Venture X card. Another route I would suggest is applying for a credit card through credit unions. Whether it is a large credit union like Navy Fed or your local one, they tend to be more generous with credit limits compared to the traditional banks. Now let's talk about another way that makes it easier for you to get a credit limit increase. So what I'm talking about here is getting added on as an authorized user or purchasing trade lines. You see, the more credit that you have available, the more likely it is to get more credit. It's a bit of a catch-22, but if you're struggling with lower credit limits, then there are ways to get around it. One option is to get added on as an authorized user on someone else's account, preferably a family member. Not only this will increase your credit score, but it'll also reflect the limits on your credit report. So when you request for a credit limit increase, the credit card issuer will take this into consideration. This is where you buy an authorized user slot on someone else's account. But be warned, this may not be the best idea. While you may get a higher credit limit, when it comes to getting loans, lenders may not even take that account into consideration while underwriting. So while it might be tempting to take the easy route, it is important to keep in mind the long-term implications of your actions. Well, there you guys have it. This is exactly how to get higher credit card limits, plus some bonus tips. I do have a weekly newsletter where I share credit tips just like this that you can sign up for in the comments. If you want to hang out with me some more, check out these videos over here.